Phasmophobia. We just found out some recent news that just came out about it, where someone on the team was caught leaking nude photos without consent, as well as saying some things that were culturally insensitive. How fun. Why does this keep happening? Why is it the third game that I've had to uninstall in the past 6 months because of things that have come out about the developers? So who else knew that the Phasmophobia devs are housing a sex pest in their official Discord by keeping him admin and refusing to take any claims against him seriously? Because I sure do now. Apparently, some DMs from the dev team came out of them specifically talking about how they were not going to kick somebody off just because they shared nudes without consent. Him saying that she, quote, she sent them anyway at her own risk. So if he wanted to give them to a mate, that's fair game. Oh, man. That's the tweet. That's it. Take what you want out of that. Scroll down a little bit and says things like, I thought you were Asian when I saw you squinting. It's just a general idea that the devs are pieces of shit and they don't care. And I think that that is a common theme with a lot of people these days, but especially people who have any kind of clout. I'm kind of making this video to take this guy down a peg. Like, your game sucks and you're a piece of shit. It's not a good game. And I know I put thousands of hours into it. I tried to play it again after the last update and it was still bad. Even though they spent all those months for this big update, visuals don't make a good game. We learned this with Dead by Daylight. Making a game look better does not make the core gameplay better. And that's what Phasmo tried to do with this big update. It's the same boring game. You walk in, find the ghost, and walk out. Or they've made it so ridiculously difficult where you just die before you even get all the clues. And people who see this might say, you used to love that game. Yeah, well, I used to love Overwatch and Dead by Daylight too, now didn't I? Circumstances change. I sure am sick of hearing about game devs being perverts.
The simplest solution to this is stop trying to have a social life on the fucking internet. Because then you won't send nudes to people on the internet and they won't get leaked.
And we're not victim blaming.
No, I'm not blaming the victim. I'm saying that, like, that's the nature of the internet. And the more social you are on the internet, the more things that you do are going to spread. I don't know. I think that the term victim blaming is really inappropriate.
I'm making the distinction that you're not, in case someone tries to argue that, because I can see someone trying to make the argument of like, oh, well, if you don't put your nudes on the internet, they won't get found.
That is true, but me saying that doesn't mean that I'm saying it's the victim's fault. The people were obviously shitty for spreading it. Prudence is the better part of valor, or discretion is the better part of valor. You can say either way. Basically what that means, it's better to stay out of potential problems than subjecting yourself to it.
But you're forgetting that these people are fucking sociopathic psychopaths who make them feel safe, so then they give them nudes.
It's supposed to be more of a reason for me to say that you should look for a social life on the internet?
Well, no, you shouldn't.
The internet's full of sociopaths. Let's make friends online. No, if you don't have the social skills to get out in the real world and make friends, go work on them. Don't hubble in your little corner on your computer on the internet and expect to find good people. You know, you're going to find people that don't have social skills, people who don't know how to interact with people in public, and they probably really withdrawn, don't know how to handle social situations, and people that don't know how to handle social situations can't be given the responsibility of being tasked with managing social situations.
I kind of wanted to bring it around to that point that all of the worst things that I'm hearing about developers are games that have a social element to them.
That's another thing. Don't fuck around with people you work with. That's stupid.
Wait, no, the girl in question, I don't think she worked with them. We just don't know. All we do know is...
Wasn't it some admin of the community that did this?
It says, I will not say much about it on behalf of the friend that is still dealing with the fallout of all of it, but I'm just going to ask people not to play Phasmo anymore. I've been given okay to share this. This is from the mouth of the lead artist. Apparently it's a-okay to leak nudes to your friends, according to him.
Even so, it's people integrating in that way with people in the dev team of the game. Don't fuck around with people like that. It's like, don't go to the conventions and try to fuck around with game devs. Don't get online and talk to people that are like administrators of these games. You gotta understand, if you have the money to have a game like Phasmophobia where you've got millions of purchasers, I don't care if it's an early access self-made game. I don't give a shit. You have money if your game game is that popular. And you have enough money to sweep things under the rug if you have that much money. That gives these people carte blanche to treat you however they want and get away with it. Look how many cover-ups happen in these types of games and these types of communities all the time. These companies will do anything and spend any amount of money to avoid a PR disaster. Look at Harvey Weinstein. There are so many records that came out of him like telling women, I'll do anything you want, just don't talk about this. There's been so many times where sexual assault accusations come up and then the people settle for an undisclosed amount. Look at Deshaun Watson for the Browns quarterback, former Houston Texans quarterback. 26 sexual assault accusations, and all of a sudden they all shut up once he started writing paychecks. So when you start fucking around with people that have power and money, you're not going to be heard the way you want. First off, you're going to get squelched. Second off, they're going to take advantage of you. Third off, you're not going to gain anything from it. So this applies to whether it was an employee or a fan. Don't fuck around with people that are related to things that you do like that. It all boils down in this case to don't try to make friends on the internet. But at the core of it, just because someone has money or power or status or position or attractiveness or whatever does not mean they're desirable. Yeah, that's not a popular thing to say. I know that's not popular. I know people aren't going to want to hear that. But that's the truth. Suing someone because they are in a position of power or in a position of authority or they make something that you like or whatever and you overlook other negative traits of them, then that is your fault. Now that might not be the case here. And this person may have been a master manipulator and may have done all sorts of things to get this person to send nudes. That person needs to be punished. There is no rationalization that makes that okay.
Under no circumstance is it okay for you to share somebody's nudes with someone else.
What you have to do is take away what you can learn from this, right? You can learn in the possibility that you decide that you want to try to integrate yourself with someone of stature in these situations, and they start putting you in situations that are sexual or compromising or whatever. Don't do it. Just don't.
Just don't.
What good could possibly come of it for you? I'll give you a hint. Nothing.
From my own personal experience, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a fucking sociopathic pervert, but who knows?
I doubt it either. I'm sure that you're either right or very close to right.
They get status, so they think that they can take advantage of women with it, and women let them. I don't know why.
Because women have been propagandized into thinking that certain things make men good and make people good that actually aren't. Women are groomed from childhood and looking for bad qualities in men as desirable, and so they grow up with a completely fucked up mindset and perspective on what they should look for in a man or in a partner in general, where it's not just men.
Yeah, and it sucks. We want someone who will treat us fairly and be attracted to us. It's like negging yourself, right? If you're going after somebody instinctually, there's something inside of you that knows that like something is off. But it's really hard to listen to that when, there's all this other stuff in your head. No, this guy is so well known. He's well renowned. He can't possibly be a horrible person.
Clearly, it got to the point before these said nudes were transferred that this person convinced them that they weren't a piece of shit. That's poor discernment. And this could be controversial too, but in my opinion, you better be really fucking sure that someone is decent before you send them nudes. I mean, I'm not going to send anybody who wants to see me nude, but even outside chance that I were an attractive woman that had my nudes were coveted by men, I would not send them to someone over the internet, period.
Really easy to say that.
I don't know. It seems pretty easy to me. Maybe I'm wrong.
It depends on how their relationship was, which we don't know.
It was over the internet, and that's all I need to know. The whole victim blaming argument pisses me off. That's just absolving someone of the responsibility they have. I understand that there is a certain amount of trust that can be established. Maybe I'm different. I don't trust people over the internet. I've seen what happens firsthand when even just a little bit of personal information about you gets discovered. You don't even share it. If it just gets discovered, what can happen? So I don't share anything about my personal life on the internet. I don't post Snap stories because I don't need the world seeing what's going on in my daily life. If you expand on that and you take it further, the idea of sending someone nudes on the internet when I don't even like people knowing where I am at any given moment on the internet, I cannot rationalize that in my head to anyone.
Oh God, okay, this is where it gets a little weird. This person says therapists do not, and then said, when you explain things to me, it's very arousing. I lure you into explaining things so I can get hard. PP. Gotcha.
Block. Done. I don't even need to hear the extension of how that went.
They said, this is a wonderful way to ensure I never explain anything. And then he goes, I'm very crafty. You'll fall for it again for sure.
So now it's gaslighting too, right?
Yeah.
Everyone mass report them, block them, stop playing the fucking game, fucking charge back your card if you paid for anything.
Okay, then this person goes, I'm gonna go now. And then all he does is hope you feel better. And then they go, Just as a disclaimer, if you're ruminating and or sulking or beating yourself up because I said no pee hard jokes about me, I'm gonna steal every red drop from your ROR2 game. I don't know what that means, but I'm fine. I just have to get into the mindset of not saying anything sexual at all. It's hard to filter everything through a just friends filter when you like someone. And sometimes I'm just goofy and say that stuff anyway. Who does that sound like? But the reply I always get is, oh, I don't like that. So it's my fault for expecting anything else in the first place.
That person should be dropped off a fucking cliff somewhere. The reality is that anyone who sees that should have no engagement with that person whatsoever. None. When people start talking like that, cut them off. Period.
Then he says, are you really going to ignore my plea for a selfie, you fucking cockroach?
Ugh. If this is how they talk and this is how they treat you and you send them nudes, that's your ignorance. They've shown themselves to you. You know who they are. They are who you thought they were.
I don't know the entirety of the relationship they have with this person. Like, obviously this person felt comfortable enough to gaslight and guilt trip them into, sending selfies, which probably turned into nudes, right? I don't know if this was like an immediate thing or if this was over time, but I can say from my own experience that over time, it's easier said than done to just cut them off when you don't know better.
It's a life lesson for them.
Yeah.
Because on the outside, I'm not surprised at all. It sucks that this happened, but the person whose nudes were shared has no recourse now. This is a life lesson that they have to have. It sucks, but that's just how it is. For anyone listening to this or watching this, if you are the kind of person that talks to women like this, you're a piece of shit. Yeah, if you are that kind of person, you can go fuck right off. Or you need to fucking do something to change yourself. You are ruining the social strata for everyone else who's trying to have regular, meaningful relationships. If you are the kind of person who is liable to being attracted to these types of people who sexualize and joke around like this, you need to do some self-reflection too and understand within yourself why this is attractive to you. Why do you like being demeaned? Why do you like being talked to in a negative way? Why do you feel like someone destroying your boundaries is a validation for you to send them nude pictures of yourself? Why are you engaging yourself and allowing yourself to befriend people like this? Oh yeah, and why are you trying to make friends on the internet in the first fucking place?
Some info from the subreddit mods' point of view. We did indeed remove a post which contained revealing information about several individuals. Be cordial and engage in healthy discussions.
There's no healthy discussion here. You fucking remove that person from the dev team, ban the person who sent the nudes, and then let the public drag them through the fucking mud, because that's what the person who sent the nudes deserves. That's what you do. Public fucking shaming. And then the fucking lead dev and the people who hired this guy need to be under scrutiny too.
Yep. Because
they ignored this person's character as well in the interest of something else. Why? That's what I want to fucking know. Why? Somebody come tell me. Come on, Phasmo lead dev, talk to me. Why did you overlook these things? Why did you turn a blind eye to this, huh?
Yep, it's just a PR nightmare.
It's a shit game. Your game sucks. You have an actively fucking terrible game. Worse than Dead by Daylight in its gameplay loop, and I didn't know that was fucking possible. It's literally a fucking gimmick. You don't improve your game. You just polish the turd over and over again. How many times can you redesign your fucking menus? It's the same fucking game it was day one. Turn some numbers around to make it artificially challenging. It sucks. And I cannot understand how the game has such a following. Like, what kind of people actually enjoy this game?
I mean, we've talked about before of like how the repetitive gameplay loop is like addicting these days.
But it's not a gameplay loop. There's no gameplay. You walk in circles. There's not even like a strategy.
Yeah, and there's no other players.
It's a programmed enemy that just randomly sends you signals. You just wait for it. It's a waiting game. It's fucking Where's Waldo in the dark. That's all it is.
I had fun for the first like 400 hours, and then it got
I thought
stale.
The first time was interesting because it's just a poorly designed game. Things that suck draw in people that can't think for themselves, and they accept suckage.
Stop accepting suckage.
Tetris has a more compelling fucking gameplay loop than Phasmophobia. I don't like the horror genre at all. And it's not because I'm scared. I don't get scared by any of this shit. You know what's scary? Standing on the edge of a fucking mountain. That's scary. Loud noises are not scary. It's just cheap shock value. What is it with this fucking overdone, uncreative horror genre? What in your brain says, ooh, let's find the most disgusting way to murder someone, and let's let everyone see it? That sounds awesome. It's so much fun.
When I write, a lot of my creativity in that regard, I get inspired by the deepest parts of my mind, I guess. Sometimes I have dreams that inspire me to create scary atmospheres.
In all fairness, my favorite horror movie is the first Saw movie, and that movie was inspired by a dream that the guy had. And that's okay. Right?
But Saw went off the rails.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah, it turned into everything that I hate about horror. Like, being inspired to create a story that's not all peaches and cream and roses is fine. But when it turns into like, let's put people in a loop of being murdered over and over again by a fucking serial killer. Or let's find out, how creatively we can chop someone to bits. Like, if you really want to see gore, and then these people that get sexual with it, that's even worse.
That's messed up.
They're always like that, right? It's always these horror game communities that have these fucked up people in them.
Like I said, Blizzard isn't horror.
I mean, there's lots of communities of fucked up people. I mean, in all fairness, I can't just isolate that. But it sure as hell seems like there's a fucking nest of disgusting, perverted, sick people that work in horror across the board. And it seems to me that it would come with the territory. But, kink shaming. Whatever. Oh, everything's relative. It's not fucked up. It's not. So then at what point does it get fucked up then, huh? Watching someone get fucking beat to death with a fucking club until you see their eyeballs splatter and their teeth get knocked out and there's a bloody pulp. That's not bad. That's subjective. Then where do you draw the line, huh? Because if you say that there isn't such thing as too much, then that means that you don't have a fucking moral compass. That means you don't have limits. That means there's something wrong with you. That means that you're probably a sociopath.
Yep.
I know this is a rant about the horror genre as a whole, but Phasmophobia just falls right in line. Horror is known for being like B grade. It's like the trope, right? Everything that's horror has got to be like shitty. So when do you have a super polished horror film,
Yeah.
There's like this like shitty aesthetic to it that's like supposed to make it like edgy. Where's the philosophy in horror? What's the philosophy? Oh, this is philosophical because the fight or flight. Come on, give me a fucking break. You can't actually recreate that, first off. And putting people in fight or flight scenarios does not create a philosophical fucking concept. All you're doing is recreating adrenaline.
Yeah,
Where's the
fair.
philosophy? How does that contribute to thinking about the meaning of fucking life or the reason that we're here? It doesn't. That's why I thought Saw was cool. It wasn't particularly brilliant in its philosophical ideas. At least it had some kind of perspective. Most of this horror stuff doesn't. Friday the 13th, the first movie, is literally 15, 16-year-olds are having sex and a fucking kid drowns because of it, so the mom gets vengeance on all of them. What's the perspective there? Don't trust camp counselors? Things don't have to say something. Yes, they do. If the things that you do don't have something to say, then you are promoting stagnancy of the mind. You're promoting banality. If you don't have something to say, then shut the fuck up. And horror has nothing to say 99% of the time.
Yeah, I definitely think that in movies in general, it only focuses on shock value. Just seeing what crazy, shocking, unbelievable thing would be next. Gore porn. It's just all desensitizing. And I sound like a boomer when I say that. Back in college, I've written papers on why gaming isn't the reason why people are mentally ill. And maybe at the time it wasn't. I graduated from college in 2017. But maybe now media has become so influential that we're desensitized to normal human things like fear and relationships.
Yeah, we've seen it so much. Our generation has been inundated with violence and sex and depravity. On the news, every time you turn it on, it's like he says in Network, there's 10, 15 homicides and 16 suicides. We hear it all the time, everywhere we go, every day. There's a war brewing. There's a dictator in this country. Death. Decay, destruction. Of course we're desensitized. And maybe that's the problem. Maybe we need to be sensitive. And I'm not saying be a fucking snowflake that can't handle someone saying that your lifestyle is not appropriate or whatever. And I'm not saying have sympathy or for every person who's not like you or whatever. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that maybe we need to get back to our fucking roots and deprogram ourselves from, being able to look at something die and it mean nothing.
I really feel like people are focusing their feelings on the wrong things. People don't care about what feels to really find joy in something that you've done anymore. But you're still guilted into, feeling bad for arbitrary things at the same time. It's like, it's just so fucked. People's priorities are totally fucked. And people don't want to hear it. People are stuck in delusions. When you are surrounded by so many things that are so extreme all the time, it will affect you mentally. That's just the facts. It's reality.
Yeah, and you know what this leads to in the real world? If you're desensitized by all the media, you're desensitized to fucking sickos who have no sense, who are fucking sociopaths, who don't care about humans or how they affect them. And then you do things like send them nudes over the internet because you don't feel the fear that goes along with something like that. You're desensitized to the fact that someone negs you and talks shit to you to try to make them like you. Yes, I'm making the slippery slope argument, and people need to pay more attention to it.
People think that the slippery slope doesn't exist, and it does.
The people who say it doesn't exist are the same people who are trying to make this slippery slope happen.
Yeah, true.
If you say the slippery slope argument doesn't exist, and that means you're okay with the end of the slope. You're saying that if it got to that point, you don't care that much.
Right, and everyone is being propagandized to just not care about anything. All we can do is learn from this and try to look for the warning signs of bad people. Don't blame yourself too hard if you were taken advantage of, or
it's not your fault if someone took advantage of you. That I want to make that clear. That is not your fault. But if someone shows tendencies of being a bad person and negs you, sexualizes you, that kind of thing overtly, you have to show prudence. You cannot proceed with these people as you would any normal person.
You, in fact, lose your own momentum of building something for yourself when you expose these freaks. So
well, they get in power,
right?
And then they squelch anyone who exposes them for the shitty things that they do.
So more often than not, if you get involved in any way, obviously with a piece of shit, it's going to hurt you in the end in some way or another. And just for calling out the horrible things that have happened to me, I have lost 90% of my support. You know, it's what they do. They destroy everything they touch. It's insane.
Bill Hicks asked the question, why do we live in a world where the crazies could run amok? The reason is that crazies don't care about who they hurt in the process of acquiring power. And so then, since they already took power by being heinous, they don't mind maintaining being heinous to keep their power and using their heinousness to cover up people exposing their heinousness.
Narcissists and sociopaths, remember, they cannot feel true love. And when you cannot feel love, you cannot feel true empathy for others. And empathy is what keeps you from hurting people. And, you know, the public is gaslighted so much about what empathy they should have. They don't even know what it is anymore. I mean, people are going to be ignorant about it. That shows that, like, if it doesn't happen to you, then you don't understand it. And that just is what it is. Instead of feeling all this trauma that we've all had over the past 2 years, plus all the trauma of everything we hear all the time, wars, hurricanes, sicknesses, right? There's no room for people to care about other people anymore. Like, I saw one of the comments on the Reddit post about the Phasmo drama, and they're like, well, I'm going to keep ghost hunting, and if you don't want to, fine, but don't guilt me about playing my favorite game. Okay, this person is choosing what makes them happy over the reality that the game is shit. It's run by awful people who don't deserve the support.
You know, one could say that you've never been in a situation where someone shared your nudes on the internet, therefore you don't know what it's like. The difference here is I have been exploited and taken advantage of by people I trusted. That is the core commonality. It doesn't matter how you're betrayed. It doesn't matter what they do to betray you when you betray their trust. A betrayal is a betrayal, and all that you can do is not do the things before that you did the last time you were betrayed. I will never do the thing I did again that got me betrayed. Just like that girl should never send nudes to anyone ever again. And this is a message for anyone. I'm going to go back to point one. Don't make friends on the internet, first of all. Second off, don't send your nudes to anybody. Just don't.
Nothing on the internet is real. Nothing and no one. No one should be real until you've seen them in person. And I don't even talk about a video chat anymore because you don't know what they're doing under that desk. You don't know what they have in that room behind where you can see on the camera. You don't know what else they're looking at the same time they're talking to you. And it's fucked up, and I hate it. I hate that. I've had relationships on the internet. I've had people that I've considered very good friends over the internet, and I've been betrayed by people who were my IRL friends too.
My whole point is that if someone's powerful enough, then you're not going to be able to do much on your own to stop them. And even if you did, they just make an example out of you anyway.
I ended up losing my career for the most part because I exposed the most evil, heinous person I've ever met in my entire life. Not because he himself got me banned, took it away in that regard, but his influence over me and the community, the entirety of those few years of my life, they all wrapped around content creation and my gaming and my streaming career. So when all of that came to a halt and I exposed him for being a terrible, fucking evil child predator, I lost all my support. That makes you wonder, well, why would people not support you after that? Oh, there's plenty of reasons. Because some of them were freaks themselves, because some of them decided not to believe me because it was more convenient that way than looking at reality. Some people didn't want to take a side and were too pussy to really put their foot down on where they were on the matter. Some people didn't want to be involved because, oh, the drama, I can't handle it.
You know, when you talk about solving problems with heinous people, the best thing that can happen is everyone shun them. Like, the best thing that can happen right now is everyone uninstall Phasmophobia. That will solve this problem. Because if they have no players, they have no game. And these heinous people who designed it will not have a platform anymore because they won't have any influence anymore.
If they don't have any power to use over somebody, then they can't.
Go to your Steam, right-click Phasmophobia, and uninstall. Go to add remove programs, or however Mac does it, fuck Mac, however they work, uninstall Phasmophobia. If you don't, you are actively supporting people who sexually prey on women. And I'm not even what you would call a social justice warrior at all.
We're just truth seekers. I'm not the hashtag SJW, but I do believe in social justice.
If someone has been proven to sexually prey on women, which this person has, and which this organization has tried to cover up, then you need to uninstall their product, or you are tacitly supporting them.
Those shitty men in power are making women hate men, and it sucks because this is a whole other subject. But like, you normal guys in my chat are facing the repercussions of this at a micro level, and it's crazy. Like,
normal men are being held accountable for the powerful ones. We're paying the price for all the shit the powerful evil ones do that the women that aren't as powerful as them can't get retribution for. So they take it out on us normal dudes. All men are shit or whatever. Like, we take the repercussions of that. So what you do to stop that is take every opportunity you can to stop consuming the things that these shitty people produce.
Right.
To me and be like, oh, it's not that serious.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. But people send nudes all the time.
Even if I uninstall it, it's not like anybody else is going to do it.
My friends and I like to play that game.
You can't be in like VR and hunt ghosts, man. No, fuck that shit. Uninstall the game. If you don't, you are actively contributing to the toxicity in society that you claim that you're against.
Me uninstalling personally is something that I can do for her.
And it will have more of an impact than me talking about it too.
The whole thing is like holding people accountable for things, and the only way you're going to hold them accountable is if you attack them where they can be hurt. The dev team can be hurt by their numbers going down.
Maybe they'll go, well, what is the problem that our game sucks? And it does. All their metrics will say, wait a minute, when all these tweets came out, our engagement fell down the toilet. At least it will get something done. At least it will have made a change. And all it takes is the understanding and the internalization that you are empowered to make a fucking change in this fucked up world. People want to act like, oh, I just want to sit at my computer and have my little fake ass fucking internet social life. No, make a fucking change. The only time I sit around and talk on the internet is in these situations. Most of the time I'm doing things to better myself, doing things to make life better for myself and my sister, doing things to improve my quality of living so that ultimately I will be able to make a meaningful change. And sitting around is not making a change. And that virtue signaling like, oh, I'm against this shit, but not doing anything about it only makes the problem worse. Because being inactive is the same thing as ignoring a problem. Now, that doesn't mean you're supposed to solve every problem in the world. Every problem in the world is not your responsibility to solve. But something simple like uninstalling Phasmophobia, there's another subliminal advertising for you. You can make that small little change.
You'll find something better to play.
We don't need to cast a wide net and just assume that everyone's bad because they do a certain thing or they're involved in a certain thing. But we do need to find targeted examples of people who clearly violated the social strata, the agreements of how you should not treat people in society. And we should get those people to be held accountable. People who just cast a wide net and are going to turn around and say, oh, this is because of men, fuck men, they're idiots. And they should be ignored. That's not the rhetoric that we need. What we need is the people that abuse their positions of power need to be brought down from those positions of power.
It's not about what you look like or how you were born. It's about who you are inside. And if you are a shitty person and you abuse your power to hurt others, it's not fair to the good men who do stand up for victims. There's just too much to consume. There's just too much to take in everywhere. People just don't feel things anymore. Anything that doesn't directly benefit them or directly hurt them personally. That's all people care about. Does it hurt you personally or does it benefit you personally? I think we've made our points, so. Okay, I think that's where I'm going to end it for today. Yep, we have quite a lot to think about now, don't we? This video was especially draining, so I'm gonna go take a nap. Stay safe out there.